name is Thais, and for our video project, my partner Meet and I will be covering climate change and ecological succession, which are subtopics of ecosystem ecology and energetic exchanges with community ecology and island biogeography.
Climate change refers to long-term changes in the average weather condition in a particular region. These may include temperature, precipitation, rainfall, etc. While talking about ecological succession, which is defined by how the structure of biological community varies over time, and thirdly, how they are very much interrelated in the sense of habitat. For example, as the temperature is rising slowly and gradually over the years, which leads to the melting of ice, which directly affects the habitat of polar bear. Furthermore, talking about carbon emissions and climate change, it was estimated that the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere was increased by 33% in just last 30 years, which is a significant factor to be looked upon. Thirdly, why does this matter from an ecological point of view? As many species have shifted their geographical range, seasonal activities, migration patterns, abundance, and their mating time because of the climate change. What we can expect for PEI? For Ireland particularly, it is expected that climate change will cause many activities such as storm, coastal flooding, runoff, erosions, and more pollution in the water, which will ultimately put the health of rich fish and bivalves at the risk. Even it could make harder for shellfish to make hard shells, which is a prime source for their protection. It is also expected that winter ranges will be changed, which will have a direct effect on migration period of birds and their breeding system. For plant life, new pests and pathogens could be introduced, such as weeds might be seen, and we could see increased in water stress for the crop. Discussing how marine and coastal life get affected by rising sea level. One of the biggest, or we can say major, result of climate change that comes to mind is definitely rising sea level, which is caused due to global warming. In 20th century alone, sea level have risen around 14 centimeters. This has devastating consequences for marine and coastal life, as the rising sea level, ocean acidification, soil and aquifer contamination with salt, which ultimately affects many species of fish, bivalves, coral reef, seabirds, and other ocean plants. Now, particularly talking about coral reefs, coral bleaching is a direct effect of climate change. These occur because the symbiotic algae living in them are forced to leave coral tissues, causing them to lose color and turn white. This is due to the temperature variation. Prolonged period of coral bleaching result in death of the organism. Because of this, the thousands of organisms that depends on the reef such as fish, sea urchin, shrimps, and many other organisms are seeing populational decline and trophic disruption. As these organisms all depend on each other for survival, it is very important to note their interrelated relationship.
So, how are plants affected? In the last 40 years, satellites have actually shown an increase in vegetation as a result of warmer temperatures and more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This means that plants need less water to carry out photosynthesis, but ultimately results in longer and warmer growing seasons and more time plants spend consuming water, drying the areas that they inhabit. If we look at trees and climate change, around 6 to 17% of carbon emissions in the atmosphere that results from human activity is from deforestation. When a tree rots, burns, or gets cut down, it takes carbon that is stored to help it grow and releases it into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Plus, now that the tree is dead, it won't be able to absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. This not only contributes to global warming, but also negatively impacts the animals that relied on that tree. Around 80% of the world's terrestrial biodiversity live in forests, and many animals, such as giraffes, sloths, and monkeys, depend on trees as a source of food, and other animals, such as birds and squirrels, use it as a habitat. In addition to animals, there are many other organisms that rely on trees. Mycorrhizal fungi engage in symbiotic relationships with trees by colonizing their roots, which can be seen in the middle picture below. The fungus provides the tree with increased nutrient and moisture absorbing capabilities, and the tree provides the fungus with carbohydrates that are produced during photosynthesis. Both organisms benefit. Lichens also depend on trees by using them to gain better access to sunlight so they can photosynthesize. The tree isn't positively or negatively affected, but the lichen benefits, which is known as commensalism. In terms of ecological succession, extinction plays a major role in how a community changes over time. A study conducted by the World Wildlife Fund in collaboration with the London Zoological Society found that in the last 40 years alone, nearly 52% of the wildlife on Earth has gone extinct, and that the Earth could be headed towards its sixth mass extinction, with climate change being a major determining factor. It's estimated that the population sizes of animals has decreased by approximately 68% since 1970. This significantly disrupts the ecosystems they are in because of how heavily they rely on the balance of a food web. Food chains and food webs are highly sensitive and depend on the balance of the ecosystem in which they take place. If you look to the food web on the left, if the insect-eating bird population were on the verge of extinction, the grasshopper population would increase, as the birds typically eat them. This would also benefit the shrew population that eats the grasshoppers and would no longer have to compete with the birds to get to them. However, it would stress the grass population that is fed on by a now larger group of grasshoppers. The rabbit population will also struggle as they compete with the larger population of grasshoppers for grass. And here is our works cited page. Thank you for watching.